Welcome back to our Wednesday interview. I'm super excited about our guest today, Dr. Cody Bayles, who works currently at the Flagstaff Counseling Center. He worked several years at the Guidance Center. I got to work with him there, where he has an expertise in substance abuse and was the clinical director for a while. He's also the co-founder of Beyond the Pines, which is a Flagstaff wellness collective. It's also known as Beyond Flag. Welcome, Cody.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to jump in a little bit and get some more information about Beyond the Pines. Can you introduce kind of what that is and what you're trying to do there?
Yeah, sure. So right now it's an idea, and it was started by Dr. Dan Phillips, who's another psychologist here at Flagstaff Counseling Center. He and I just came up with an idea of looking at ways to connect the community, essentially. So rallying around these three values of an increasing connection to self, connection to others, and connection to the environment is kind of the overall idea. So we want to create a network of people in the community who are kind of rally around well-being and mental wellness.
Awesome. And one of your expertise is environmental psychology. And that's kind of the topic that I wanted to land on a little bit today. And I'm wondering if you could just connect the dots for our listeners on how does the environment impact mental health?
For sure. So it's definitely a large topic, so I'll just kind of maybe scratch the surface kind of thing. I always like to start in 1984 with, not George Orwell, is kind of my joke, right? But with a person named E.O. Wilson who wrote a book called Biophilia. And so in his book, he talks about basically that humans, we possess an innate tendency to seek connections with the natural world and with all forms of life. And so in that, he basically poses this argument that we are the way we are because of the environment we grew up in. So because of the elements of the earth and how that shaped over time, it's kind of what resulted in us being who we are now.
Yeah, interesting. And how does the environment contribute to things like addiction?
Sure. So yeah, what we know is in environments, particularly ones that are low SES and are overcrowded, typically tend to have higher rates of addiction and higher rates of substance use. And so, we used to talk about this a lot in programming, right? It was like we have to, in aftercaring or in aftercare treatment planning and in continuing care treatment planning, we'd always talk about what environment are you going back to, with the idea that if we could take someone out of the environment, give them all the great programming for 30 days or whatever, but if we send them back, it's likely not going to have a super long lasting effect. So we have to look at the connection between us and even the building that we're in, the family that we're around, the people that we're around, understanding that those are going to have an impact on decisions that I make. They're going to have an influence.
Yeah, I love that, of how it's more than just the individual. There's this, the individual is nested in the environment of the family, in the building, and also into the environment, stepping outside and breathing fresh air or having green space or things along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then what do you think the relevance of the environment is to a program like Sage Home, which is trying to keep mothers with their children as they receive addiction treatment?
For sure. So, so there's a whole field of psychology referred to as eco-psychology, which again kind of looks at the interdependence between humans and the natural world, with the idea that when we're connected to the natural world, typically what we see are lower levels of stress, we see lower levels of depression, lower levels of anxiety, and mental health disorders in general. So when I think of like moms and children in treatment, one thing I would think is how important or intentional Sage Home could be about including the environment or connection to nature as being, again, a part of the programming aspect. One way I think about it is you have Mother, I don't want to get too woo-woo here, but we have Mother Earth and we have us. And again, going back to E.O. Wilson's theory would be that we are the way we are because of the earth that we evolved in. If you take that and just shrink the scale, if you have mother and child, it's the same kind of thing. So you want to provide a context for a mother to provide a context for the child that is safe and low stress and healthy, that really emphasizes that attachment. And again, if the child attaches to the parent in a really healthy way, again, what you see is healthy development. And the same thing with humans. When we attach to the environment in a healthy way, we see typically healthy development.
Yeah, I love that. I love the connection that there's this whole interconnectedness that we often miss when there's an individual that's struggling. There's so much more than that. And, how do we support the individual to bring more wellness into our life? And one of the things you're saying is we get them outside.
Yeah, I think I would even look at the building that you use. I would include green spaces in the building or include live plants. If you have a backyard, what does the backyard look like? I would encourage to get out into nature and move, like do exercise. I would also encourage to get out in nature and not move, to just sit and be still. And by including that into programming, that could be a really helpful aspect to, again, reduce health or mental health disorders, to reduce anxiety, to reduce stress, those kinds of things.
So more life and more connection, even if it's in the form of a plant or a garden or sitting under a tree, reduces mental health because it increases connection.
Absolutely. Yeah, that connection is vital. I love the way you described that earlier, like that interconnectedness with all of these things. They all have an effect.
Awesome. Well, that is so fun to think about. And for those of you that don't know Cody, I always make fun of him, but it's also a deep sign of respect of he is one of the most eco-feminist people that I know, just really embodying that sense of caring for connection. And that includes caring for the environment and caring for those that are struggling within the environment. And our aim at Sage Home is to provide a space where we can have clients that feel nurtured by not just staff, but by the environment as well, by bringing attention to that.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that that'll be an intentional part of what you're doing. And I think it will benefit your program in a really helpful way.
Thanks. So follow Beyond Flag. They're doing some cool stuff with connecting the community to initiatives on wellness, and follow Sage Home as we try to get this program started and running so families can stay together during addiction treatment. Thank you so much, Cody, for joining us, and I look forward to what you do in the future.
Cool. Thanks, Marca. Take care.
Thanks.